Okay, welcome back to yet another video. This is the Spires half of the Conquest Lost Argument of Kings starter sets that I got. Now I have added to this army a little bit more than the other ones, but essentially in the starter set you got a block of drones, like these block of drones. You got an abomination, this big thing, and you got 3 brutes along with a little commander guy. So you'll see I got double of that, plus some archers here in the front, and then at the back over here I got some other specialty unit, which I can't remember the name of at this moment. But if you watched my previous video on the 100 Kingdoms, you'll know that I wasn't impressed at all with the 100 Kingdoms figures from the starter set. They were actually pretty disgusting as far as plastic figures go. Now, it might seem like a knock against Parabellum, but new company at the time they produced that. The set was extremely cheap, so value for money was amazing. The game is amazing. The lore is getting there. It's starting to look really good now, but this starter half of the starter set, the Spires, do not suffer from the same kind of God, that's a terrible looking figure syndrome that the 100 Kingdoms did, and I think that's because the Spires are essentially aliens, or, well, I know the Spires themselves are aliens trapped on the planet, and they're making these kind of like genetic drones and creatures to fight their battles and their wars for them. So because they're not humans, I don't mind them looking blobby and roundy, and the detail, not a lot of detail, kind of makes sense. Excuse me. So we'll get down and we'll look at these figures closer up, but these figures were painted extremely quickly. All contrast paints just to get them done. Several months ago I said at the beginning of the year, after painting 50, 60,000 figures in the last 10 years, I have a lot more to paint, and I don't want to be a cripple by the time I'm 60, not being able to hold a paintbrush because I spent so much time hunched over. So I'm trying to get the projects that I have already bought and paid for, painted and based, and even if they go in a filing cabinet or storage bin, at least they're done. At least it's not a pile of shame, a pile of plastic just sitting there and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars spent for something that I can't even use. So these are painted, all sprayed with Wraithbone from GW. Kind of expensive, but at the time that's what I had local to me. And then contrast paint Skeleton Horde 50-50 with contrast medium, and then I just drenched the whole model in that 50-50 mix of that. And then well, not the whole model, I drenched all the bone looking stuff in that, and then I did the like the fabric. You'll see a lot of them have what looks like bandages, like mummy, like they're like they've been mummified, sort of like it's kind of holding the body together. They're wrapped in these bandages. I painted them all with a light purple contrast, watered down with contrast medium to not be quite so saturated. So it looks like a sort of a light purpley color. And then the big guys, they were painted with flesh and some gray on the what looks like armor pieces, but it's more like scales. And that was that. But we'll get closer, and we'll take a look at them. I do like these models quite a bit. I actually have plans to expand this army, whereas in the last video I said I was not going to expand the 100 Kingdoms army unless it came out with something that was just crazy good looking. I don't care about the stats of any model that I've ever bought. I care about it looking good. If I like the look of a model, I buy it. Even if it's a fantasy model, I don't even play that game just to paint it. So if they come out with something crazy good, the 100 Kingdoms, I might. But I am planning on expanding the Spires because I really do like the Spires. And they look good. So I do have upstairs, I have some Vanguard clones. And I was seconds away from buying in person one of the Monstratus. I can't remember the name of it, but there was 3 big models. They looked like boulders almost. Boulders with legs and arms. I was going to buy them, but I'm going to do that later on, maybe near closer to the end of the year, and expand that. But let's get down, look at the models up close. I'll be right back. We'll start off with the leader that came in the box. This is a Ferromancer. Again, not the best paint job ever in the world, but you'll see what I'm talking about, the skeleton horde on the bone and the light purple on all the fabric. Again, it's blotchy because it's contrast paint, but I mean, it looks pretty good from afar. So I'm happy enough with it. That's one of the Ferromancer. This is the High Lord Executor or Executioner, I don't know, something like that. I love the weird bone helmet thing that he has. That's why I bought the guy. That just looks so cool. Even though there's different faces that you can, or different heads you can put on him, I put that one on him and I haven't regretted it because he looks badass. Here's an assassin. He kind of disguises himself as like a drone. So he will join the unit. He'll kind of look like a drone, and then all of a sudden you'll replace this model here with the assassin. He kind of like, you'll see his face pulls apart there, and the real ugly alien face comes out, and he dives through the crowd and kills someone. So he's pretty cool. I'll stay on the drones. There's no point in looking at 48 different drones or 96 drones or however many I've painted. This is a very basic job just to get them on the table and they look good. I mean, people put a lot of detail onto these models. I've seen some amazing paint jobs. But for me, I'll just move the camera here a little bit. For me, that looks fine. You know, I don't need any more than that. I could do it, but I don't need it. Let me put my camera back down. It's on a stand. Here's some of my favorite models. I'll just show them off on the floor. These are the archers. I can't remember exactly what they're called. They have a very samurai feel to them. Again, all contrast painted, but not pure contrast out of the pot. Everything's been diluted 50-50 or 60-40 just to make sure that it's not oversaturated and too bright. I didn't want anything too dark. But these are really nice. And then there's also a really cool standard bearer in there. You'll see him. Maybe I can zoom back here, but you'll see him. Really cool. And then there's the leader with his fancy, looks like a, what do you call those, peacock helmet. There's 12 of them. I would like to get a second box of them, and I might just do that. Here's one of the 6 brutes. Fantastic looking models. I mean, this is what came in the starter set. So if I had this model versus the, let me just zoom back out a little bit. If I had this model versus a human knight, I prefer this model. Not only is it easier to paint, although it's very basic, it just looks cool. The light, and something about the knights, they look fat, or I don't know, they look like they're too weighty. But I know the look that they're going for, so it all makes sense kind of when they're all together. But the brutes really look the part, and they're a beast in combat. Here's a brute commander, if he will come out with me here. I just put a red plume on him just so you could tell that he was a commander. Again, super simple paint job. Took a half an hour to paint, another half an hour to dry. The basing is nothing. I spent no time on the basing because, well, I don't have that time anymore. And what else do I show you? I'll show you. I will show you this thing here. Yoke. I don't know what the name of these things are, but they look crazy. And it's because of how they look. That's the reason that I bought them. Because I love the look of these weird creatures that they've been creating, the spires, to fight their battles and their wars. I'm not sure what it's called. I wish I could tell you, but like the cool ghost-looking face, I really like them. There's one of them. I'll reach over you again and get another one. I don't know why. I just really like these figures. I will do one day something better on the basing, but I just didn't feel like it, so I didn't. Okay, and then the last one is the leader of that unit of 3. So she's just super cool. I don't know what it is about this model. It looks like a freak, but very rare you see model. And that's one of the things about Parabellum. They do make some crazy looking units, like way out there, like nightmare looking stuff, but it's so cool. Like GW, by comparison, GW is low fantasy, if that makes sense. Like Warhammer Fantasy is low fantasy. This stuff just seems like so absurd. And The spires in this setting feel like the elves of every other setting, but they look so totally different. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a second to get the abomination. Okay, and I got to zoom way out for this thing because he's huge. Looks like a weird bug. Human, just... I mean, it's a funky model to assemble. Like, the first one I assembled was a disaster. I couldn't... It was so hard to assemble. The second one was way easier. There's so many things you can do with this figure, like make its leg like it's climbing a wall. You can do all kinds of stuff. But me, I just wanted the stupid thing to sit on the base and just stay there. So I just basic posed it like he's... I gotta choke you kind of pose. And again, the paint job is not the best, obviously. Very blotchy looking. But in the scheme of everything else around it, it makes sense. So it works. One sec. So there we are. That's the spires. And I'm trying to keep to the advice my wife gave me. She said try and keep the videos to 10 minutes just to save myself from rambling too much and just to get the details out there of what I've done. And that way I don't bore people half to death. So just over 10 minutes now, 11. That's the spires. The next video will be the city-states. And that will be the third army and the final army that I've painted for Conquest. Although I do really want to do the Old Dominion. They look so good. I'll show you the Greeks next on the next video. And thanks for watching and bye for now.